この公式をお前が生み出した瞬間、世界は分岐したんだ。
分岐って。
This isn't an error gay.
タク、もう行こう。話聞く必要なんてないよ。
Mimi pulled my hand, entreating me to come in the room. A sense of desperation seeped out of her attitude. Mimi was afraid of something.
葵さんが言ってることは全部嘘っぱちだし。
嘘はそっちだろ。
葵さん、もう帰って。タクの前から消えてよ。
Whose words should I believe?
たかが数式になんでそんなに目くじら立てるんだよ。
本当に何も分かってないのか。アインシュタインが唱えた E=MC の事情、これが発表されたことで核兵器が開発されるという未来が生まれたように、お前の生み出した IR2 もまた E=MC の事情と同じ、いやそれ以上の影響力を世界に与えている。 IR2 は沈黙の兵器を現実のものとした。
Silent weapons?
沈黙の兵器。
思考盗撮、視覚投影、五感制御。
That was the technology from the patent I'd researched all over the place. The one Senna had told me about.
ギガロマニアックスは特別。いや、異常ではなくなる。これからはこの忌々しい力を誰もが自由に使えるようになるんだ。IR2 を元に作られた装置によってな。もっとも、その前に一握りの腐った連中に独占され、人々は気づかないうちに家畜同然の立場になるよう洗脳されてしまうだろうが。
I didn't know. You say that, but it's got nothing to do with me. Even assuming Senna spoke the truth, I hadn't deliberately planned on creating something so inconceivable. It was just a little kid's doodling. I haven't done anything wrong.
それなら、そのアイアーム2は
IR2。
それはギガロマニアックスの力のことをキュッピーンって説明したものなんだ。やっぱりあのおじさんが言ってたのは本当だったのら。一番重要なのはその目、誰の目を生み出した少年なんだって。それって、たくみちゃんのことだったんだね。
Kozu-pii's perky voice. I couldn't regard it as innocently as she did. Nor did Remy offer any reply. Except Senna alone widened her eyes, raised her face for the start, quite upright. Why was she unsteady on her feet? Maybe because of whatever Remy had done to her earlier.
小杖、お前今なんて言った？
ホピー
Then I pressed in on the puzzle's kozu-pii.
おじしゃんって誰のことだ？
コズピーに理想度の大切さを教えてくれた人。 て初めて話した人なの。なんかね、ふぎゅーって鼻つまみたくなっちゃう格好してて、へんてこなこと書いた板持ってたの。世界は終わるとかとか。
And that's her dad? Senna's dad?
なんでそれを早く言わなかった。
Or am I confusing him with someone else?
そんなこと言われても。
あいつとやっと見つけた。
Mimi, kozu-pii and I, none of us had any idea what she was talking about. All we could do was dizzily watch Senna and her blood-curdling demeanor.
私はやっとあいつを殺せる。
A certain experiment took place, but she never knew of it. She was an ordinary housewife who had been blessed with a second child not long before turning 40. No, perhaps she wasn't utterly ordinary. If nothing else, her eldest daughter was about to enter high school, and there was a 15-year gap between her and the second child. She had been slightly worried that her eldest daughter would feel some resistance to this, as she was going through puberty, but on the contrary, the daughter rejoiced at her mother's pregnancy. Her husband, a scientist, rarely came home, as he immersed himself in his religion and his research. But he was a wonderful husband and father when at home. That was why, though she had some dissatisfactions, her love for her husband remained unshakable. The second child was born safely, an energetic little girl, 2,579 grams. She named her Mana. Unfortunately, her husband had received a job assignment far away from home immediately afterward. Her husband had absolutely nothing in the way of general homemaking skills, so they had to ask their reliable eldest daughter to go with him and help take care of him. She would now live out her days with the newborn Mana, just the two of them. Moved into cheap corporate housing at her husband's suggestion. Originally, she had lived in a suburban condo, but it was located inconveniently with respect to transportation. The company housing, her new residence, was in the best district in Shibuya, and many of her husband's co-workers' families lived nearby. Childcare was provided as well. Her husband had taken this into consideration so she wouldn't experience any trouble, just in case. All the rooms in the company housing were spacious, and she took a particular liking to her bedroom. There was an enormous mirror covering the whole wall, and in the opposite wall there was an enormous window. She could gaze at the greenery of Yoyogi Park there. She soon befriended the lady living next door, and due to the exceptionally special treatment she received from the company, a housekeeper was assigned to her as well. She was satisfied with his lifestyle and what she wanted for nothing. And she took pride in how it indicated the importance of her husband's position in the company. 2 years later, her growth was somewhat delayed, and they began growing up cheerfully without contracting any major illnesses. She was very spoiled. If she did not hold her against her breast, Nana would start crying increasingly. She herself had been in poor condition for about a month. She had an especially terrible ringing in her ears, and it bothered her practically all day long. But tinnitus is such an annoying affliction. Even then, she would let the housekeeper or her lady neighbor take care of Mana. In any case, she and Mana were attached at the hip, and they never parted. Neither when they went to the toilet or took a bath. If she thought about perhaps having the housekeeper hold Mana for a bit, Mana would sense this with extreme sensitivity and burst out crying. On the contrary, Mana's reliance on her made Mana even more precious to her, but as a result, she continued a lifestyle in which she couldn't take as much a step out of the house. The housekeeper and the neighbor helped support this lifestyle of hers. She was truly fortunate to have met them. And again, two of them were gradually beginning to act stranger and stranger. About a week ago, when they were chatting in the living room, her neighbor vomited without any warning. As regarding her startle, the lady went flying outside. What? Because they hadn't encountered each other since then, she worried that maybe her friend had fallen ill. Thus, she requested that the housekeeper go check on the lady's condition. When she conveyed this to the housekeeper, who had finished working and she was about to leave, said, "See you tomorrow." The housekeeper absolutely burst into tears and nodded countless times as she went home. At night, the tinnitus that had been tormenting her all the while grew more acute, and a splitting pain shot through her head. She tried to call an ambulance, but the phone wouldn't connect. She went outside to seek the help of the lady next door, but even that caused her great difficulty. The daughter wept violently, and her voice further stimulated her pain. When she desperately embraced Mana and endured her suffering, all of a sudden, the ringing in her ears and the weeping voice stopped. Her headache retreated as though it had been a lie. When she looked down, the child she held became a mummy. But what? Though she had been crying so loudly only a moment ago, at some point, the body had decayed, dried up, and began to give off a hideous smell. God, that's why the neighbor vomited. She has been carrying a corpse all this time. Her heart broke before she realized it. Before she realized it had been an experiment. A certain experiment took place, but it differed from what he had hypothesized. He was a scientist at the kozu-pii technology company, a follower of the Cosmic Church of the Divine Light. One of the central figures in kozu-pii Technology's ultra-classified Project Noah, and the man who had deciphered the R2 formula. He offered up his wife, then on the verge of childbirth, as an experimental subject. At the same time, this was an order from the revered founding father of his sect. This was also something he himself had suggested in order to make the experiment a success. It was called the Mana experiment, based on the codename given to the second daughter his wife had delivered. But this is the same experiment we just read about, except through his eyes. Oh, this is truly horrifying. I don't even know. Is this Senna's father and mother, perhaps? Nursing his elder daughter, 15 years old at the time, to a church facility, he spent 24 hours a day observing his confined wife and Mana. The room his wife had made herself think as a company housing was a test site prepared by Nosme Technology. I didn't know what two prototype he had developed was stationed there. Taking snapshots of people's thoughts, projecting images into the vision, controlling the 5 senses. The effects of all of these were being tested out on his wife and Mana. Human subjects confined to the experimental grounds. The many ways in which electromagnetic energy affects the human body remained unnumbered. Naturally, he had planned to halt the experiment if his wife and Mana experienced any physical abnormalities. The experiment met with an accident soon after its commencement. But a month after her birth, Mana died. The cause of death was unknown. An accident no one could have prevented. Overwhelmed with grief, he sought to stop the experiment, but he wasn't permitted to.
実に興味深いではないですか。
So said his employer. His employer had been speaking of the grotesque spectacle inside the test site. Refusing to acknowledge Mana's death as reality, his wife held the child's dead body and treated it as if it were alive. And in fact, her eyes reflected a living Mana. This was due to the influence of the Noah 2 prototype, and in a certain sense, it was the ideal situation in which to test his performance. He turned a deaf ear to his will. At last, he began to think that perhaps continuing the experiment like this would be to his wife's benefit. The wife he saw through a one-way mirror lived out every day in bliss, embracing the child's corpse. He talked gently to the child while gazing at the greenery of Yoyogi Park, which was a fake projected into a side from the wallpaper made to resemble a window that was pasted into the wall. The lady next door, as well as the housewife, the research team staff members, who took care of his wife undercover. As long as the experiment continued, his wife's heart would never be broken. He told himself it was for his wife's sake. Perhaps his heart had broken before hers did. At some point, his goal became not to complete Noah 2, rather to allow his wife to continue on dreaming. And so, his employee declared a sudden end to the experiment, which had continued for close to 2 years.
データは十分取れました。ノア2本格稼働は間近です。この実験ももう続ける意味はないでしょう。
He desperately resisted, but it got him branded a traitor, and he was taken off the project. The day of the test site closure, so one kindness to him. They permitted him to be present, albeit tied down, in the laboratory, and his elder daughter, whom he had not seen in person for 2 years, was also compelled to attend. His daughter looked confused when she saw him.
父さん、これはどういうこと？母さんに何をしたの？
Oh, so it was Senna. I mean, it is fairly obvious, but still. From all the things I've seen so far in Chaos Head, I think this may have been the most horrifying.
母さんが抱いているの？一体？
He couldn't answer. Guilt of what he had done made him incapable of looking his daughter in the face. Meanwhile, the beginning of a ghastly ceremony approached. The neighbor, who had already become unable to endure Amanda's putrid stench, and the housekeeper wept his wife's words as she left the experimental site. And the equipment stopped, and the dream ended, and his wife broke the sight of her child. To her appeared, love suddenly transformed into a mummy. She tore at her head, ripped out her hair, looked at the skin of her face with her nails, and in the end, and they're following her child's desiccated body. Laughing madly, she rammed her head into the wall. Finally, running a kitchen knife into her eyes and died. His daughter screamed and cried, feeling the atrocity of her mother's last moments through a one-way mirror. And those assholes at the company just made her watch. Researchers held his daughter up on both sides and hauled her away somewhere. He was not allowed to chase after it, one remaining family member.
すまないすまない
He blamed himself, believing he had brought all of this upon himself. Since the time 2 years ago when he made up his mind to continue the experiment, it should have been obvious to him, whatever his reasons may have been, that one day things would end up like this. Several days after his wife's death, vanished. Now, no one knows where to find him.